Eagles! Eagles!
So the Eagles beat the Jaguars 28-3 this weekend. They go to 2-1 on the season, and they are now sitting atop the NFC East division. Everybody else is looking up at them. I mean, they're only one game behind, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, they're first place. Everybody's excited. Everybody's calling 610, emailing Comcast Sportsnet, 97.5. They're all excited. Well, most of the people are excited. You know, they're all saying they're winning the division. They're saying that this team has a chance to go deep in the playoffs now, and they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl because there's no real dominant teams in the league. Of course, we know that's not true, but that's what some Eagles fans are saying, and I'm finding all those arguments to be a little bit of dreaming, if you ask me. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. First of all, they barely beat the Detroit Lions. They almost blew that game. Like I said in my video, if the Lions hadn't tried to get all those yards back on that one last drive and try to win the game on that drive, if they had just, you know, went down the field slowly, they would have gotten a field goal, and we would have gone to overtime, and we probably could have won that game, but they could have won that game also. So they barely beat the Lions, and then they played the Jaguars, and they looked good in the second half. The first half, I didn't think they looked that good, honestly. But, I mean, Andy Reid's teams always have slow starts. They always seem to be just... I don't know what the correct word would be, but they always seem to have slow starts. They seem not to have their feet underneath them in the beginning of games. But, I mean, Detroit and Jacksonville are two of the four worst pass defenses in the league. And say what you want, a win's a win. You know, I agree with that argument, but at the same time, if you beat a team like the Jaguars, it really doesn't gauge what kind of team you really have, because, you know, everybody's beating the Jaguars. And they're going to have a lousy year. They might win 4 games at most. And if we're going to sit here and say, well, you know, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl because they beat the Jaguars, well, that's a little bit of dreaming. Because last year they beat these teams. They had 11 wins against teams that didn't make the playoffs, and 4 of their 5 losses were against teams that did make the playoffs. So it's really difficult to sit here and gauge this team simply by what they've done the past 2 weeks. Now, this is not a slight, you know, this is not a slamming video. I'm not going to. He's played out of his mind. He's been amazing. I like the guy. You know, I don't like what he did, and I don't agree with what he did, but he owned up to it. He did his time. Good for him. I believe in second chances. I'm glad he's getting a chance here instead of Cleveland or Buffalo or Detroit or some lousy team. But we got to be honest with ourselves here. He's not going to be perfect all year. Okay, he will throw an interception eventually. It's going to happen. We got to be honest with ourselves. Let's not crucify the guy when he does, because that's what we did with McNabb. He would throw one interception and people would be like, oh, he sucks, get rid of him. He throws too many interceptions, when we know that's not the case. And we're going to do the same thing with Vic, because that's the way Eagles fans are. We're very reactionary. We just react, and it can be a double-edged sword. But with this team, it's really difficult to say where they're going to be in a few weeks. They've got some tough games coming up this weekend. I mean, the Redskins, they should beat the Redskins, but the Redskins are coming off a bad loss where they look bad. McNabb's coming back here, so you got those two things working against the Eagles. The Redskins are going to be a little fired up because they want to win this game for him. They want to bounce back from a bad loss, and it's a divisional game. And honestly, if they win this, and well, not honestly, but statistically, if they win this game, they would be in first place because they're 2-0 in the division, and the Eagles would be 0-1. So there's a lot at stake for the Redskins in this game. And this is that classic Eagles letdown game. They come back. They're playing a divisional team. They're looking good, and then it's the same thing every year. So I'm hoping they can win this game. I think they're going to win. I do think they're the better team. But this is another test for the Eagles. The Redskins are better. And after the Redskins, we've got San Fran out in San Francisco, and San Fran's awful so far this year. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Anything can happen. But they've got some tests coming up. They've got Atlanta after that, and then they got to go on the road to Tennessee. So they've got 3 of their next 4 weeks are legitimate tests to see what this team has. Now, I'm still saying this team's a 9-7 team, and I'm getting blasted by by a certain YouTuber. I'm not going to say his name. He doesn't watch my videos anyway, thank God. I like the guy. I'm subscribed to him, but he's ridiculing me on Facebook because I said this team was a 500 team or a 9-7 team, and he's of course gloating about it because they're 2-1 and they've beaten the Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars. But my reasons for saying 9-7 and 8-8 are: one, it's what I really believe in this team. Their schedule's too difficult for them to really overcome playing the way they've played. Their offensive line is not going to survive against a defense that's better than the Lions or the Jaguars. And two, because I'm setting low expectations. I'm not like everybody else who predicts this team to win the division every year and go to the Super Bowl every year, because they should have won 3 of Super Bowls by now, and they haven't. This team does the same thing every year. Every year, the same thing. They let us down. That's all I can say. This team lets us down every year, and I'm worried about putting my expectations up that high and getting let down again. So I'm setting the expectations low, so if they do succeed and go 11-5, win the division, and go to the Super Bowl, at least it'll mean more than me saying 11-5 and then them going 9-7 or 8-8. So low expectations, high reward. High expectations, low reward. That's the way I see it. It is what it is. I'm hoping the Eagles do go 11-5 and win the division because I want to see this team succeed. But right now, I'm waiting until they play a legitimate opponent and beat somebody of record. That being said, I do think they win this weekend. I can't predict the score because I don't know what the Redskins are going to bring. I don't know if McNabb's going to look great, because he wants to show off in front of all of us, or if he's going to look bad because he's so worried about showing off in front of all of us that he plays bad. We'll see what happens. Eagles win 3-1, 1-0 in the division, and they will be all alone up there at the top of the division, and they will hop on a plane, fly out to San Francisco, and hopefully continue to have success. We'll see what happens. No hate week. I'm not going to hate on the Redskins fans, because, it's too early in the season, but good luck to the Redskins. Let's go Birds. Let's win this game. And of course, you see I got it on. I'm going to the game tomorrow night in Washington. And 4 straight division titles is quite an accomplishment. I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of this organization. Hopefully they can start rubbing off on certain teams across the street. I'm not going to mention any names, but go Birds. Let's go 3-1. And that's all I'm going to say. I'll catch you guys later.